below 80% of the area median income, and who have experienced a loss of income as a result of COVID-19. So a lot of folks ask, what is 80% of the median area income? I can share with you that a family of one, or a family of, I'll just start with a family of four. A family of four makes less than $50,350, they are eligible to apply for this. And so that is what we're referring to. A single person would have to make an income of $39,000 as a result of COVID-19. A lot of folks ask, what is 80% for the median area income? Or a lot of people who family, I'll just start with a family of so we're going to be prioritizing less than $50,350 first, and then we will transition beyond that to those. A lot of questions are asked about. Tell you this as of 8 o'clock this morning, we already had 4 applications. Because of some of the announcements that have been today, we are going to be absolutely inundated online with requests as well as phone calls. All of these funds that we receive, $1 million, need to be expended by September 30th. So you can see that we're going to be doing a great deal of work between our community benefit organizations and the city of Fresno in making sure that we're processing request, making sure that people are truly eligible, and then passing those dollars through to both landlords and renters. In addition to that, 65% of the 19.1 million, which is a state block grants, 65% of that money must be committed by June 1st. So those are the deadlines that we are operating under. The criteria in this program is established by the federal government is this, that when we provide landlords back rent, they must accept, once they accept the 80%, then they are required to write off the remaining 20% and hold the tenants harmless at that point forward. If landlords choose not to accept the 80%, then we will be offering to the tenants 25% of what they owe their landlord of eviction under Senate Bill 91, which is a eviction moratorium until June of this year. So it would be my recommendation to encourage landlords to accept that 80%. The emergency rental assistance program will pay past due rent that is accrued from April of 2020 all the way through March of 2021. So it is for a full 12-month period. We're also able to pay prospective rent. However, that's going to be our last priority. The city of Fresno will be sending letters to property owners, making them aware of this program. We're utilizing the rental inspection registry. As you know, all of landlords in Fresno, property owners, must register with the city of Fresno when they have rental property. We are utilizing that database to make sure that we're able to notify all of the landlords and property owners. We're also sending a flyer to all the tenants in Fresno, the ones that we have a list of, and also making them aware of the program. So we're approaching it from the landlord and property owner, as well as the tenants, making sure that everyone is aware of this program in advance. Once we have helped people cover their past due rent, we will then look at what funds are available still, what funds are available, and we will then assist people with back utility payments. I can tell you that in the city of Fresno, that we, just for our water bills, etc., over $6 million are owed to us. Generally at this time, there's about $1.5 million that people are behind on payments, but as a result of COVID, that number has jumped up to $6 million. And PG&E, last numbers I heard, they were owed over $48 million in past due utilities from people in Fresno. And so for people to apply or get more information, they can visit the website, or they can apply online at era.fresno.gov. It's ERA, stands for Emergency Rental Assistance, era.fresno.gov. And they can also, if they wish to call in for additional information or assistance, they can call 621-6801. That's 621-6801. And so with that, I'd like to have Council President Chavez come up.
Thank you, Vance, for tightening up. We're still trying to get used to the COVID rules. I want to thank the mayor for really working with the council on coming up with this plan. As you know, last year the city of Fresno received $92 million from the Trump administration. I want to thank them for that. This year we're receiving $177 million from the Biden administration's initiative, bringing us to 269. These are the dollars that are going to make this program we're discussing here of $30+ million possible. We know that our community is hurting. It's been a very, very tough year. As many of you know, 2020 can be categorized as the year from hell for the city of Fresno. But we're getting through it. There's light at the end of the tunnel. These resources are going to really help our community get back on its feet. But more importantly, maintain the dignity of our residents in order for them to have a roof over their head. I can't tell you how important that is. From the calls and conversations I have with constituents, I can tell you that it's still tough out there. There are still families that are struggling. There's still families that are not working full time. There's still folks that have gotten furloughed. So we know that these dollars are going to go a long way. And as the mayor mentioned, we have our criteria that are federal guidelines. We want to encourage everybody to apply. Does not matter what your whether you're a citizen, whether you're a non-citizen, everybody is welcome to apply. We're going to help everybody. We're all in this together, and we want to encourage folks to call in, work with those community-based organizations that have been doing amazing work throughout this pandemic from day one, whether it's Reading and Beyond, Centro La Familia, West Fresno, the Chikara movement. I want to publicly thank them for really helping our community in this time of need. One of the things that we're going to be focusing on in the next couple of weeks, as the mayor mentioned, we're leveraging this housing registry that we have. I believe it's upwards of 85,000 units that we know we have in the city of Fresno that are being rented. One of my biggest concerns is that we have over 8,000 families that are at risk of really being evicted. And as you know, the moratorium is going to be lifted not too far from now. And so we wanted to be ready to address that wave that we know is coming, and have some resources available to respond accordingly. And so you're going to see that conversation materialize here in the next couple of weeks. The council is also working on a Keep Fresno Housed program, which will be a mediation program between landlord and tenant. And I want to take the opportunity to, just for the benefit of the public, explain, because I think there's a misconception that if you're a landlord, you're somehow a very wealthy person. That's just not the case. Over 85% of the landlords in the city of Fresno are called small mom and pop operators. And we know that they've been hurting too. They depend on this income. So to summarize, this program is going to help renters, but it's also going to help those who rent to renters. Everybody's been hurting, and I think this is a way to make sure that we get everybody back to its feet. And so with that, Mayor, I want to thank you again for working with the council. We can take any questions. We have some members of the media here from Spanish media. If you want, I can answer some questions for Spanish as well.
If you want to do any one-on-ones as well afterwards, we have Chris Montalongo, who's been the individual, him and my chief of staff, Tim Warman, as well as Courtney Espinoza. They were the ones that put together this program. And again, it's all online. So it should be fairly easy. And I want to clarify how people apply. They go to era.fresno.gov, and if they wish to call regarding any questions, 621-6801, or they can also email us at erap@fresno.gov. erap@fresno.gov. That is to ask any questions. So with that, we'll open up any question, find out.
Good morning, Brittany Jacob here. Do you guys have a percentage? You said it was about 85,000 units being rented in comparison to people who actually own a home. Is that, do you have majority renters here in Fresno?
Yeah, the majority of the folks who are today in Fresno are renters. And we anticipate that number is going to continue to grow. The demand for housing in Fresno, especially workforce housing and affordable housing, is on the rise. We have a tremendous demand from people from out of Fresno to want to relocate here. So those numbers are going to continue to rise as we go forward. But the registry that we have is, we believe, captures about 90 to 95% of all landlords in Fresno. There are some who chose, for whatever reason, not to register. They're required to. And in this instance, they will not be notified to make them aware of this program.
That's got the numbers, 177 million city of Fresno. You break down those numbers once more. It's 35 million going to this renters assistance, and it's just all just the federal government.
So the federal government dollars are the ones that are being passed through, a portion of those through the state of California, or at least you have to comply. So 15.8 million is federal monies that have to be spent by a certain day. By all of them have to be spent by September 30th. But the dollars that were committed, the 19.1, those have to be committed by 65% of them have to be committed by June 1st. So, but in total, there's $34.9 million. And in addition to that are the dollars that we are being allocated, the 177 million from the federal government. My understanding, is that correct, Chris? Right. Okay. Any other questions? And honestly, it's a very complicated issue, and I hope you guys can get it right, but it is very, very complicated on both fronts in terms of how these monies are being passed through, what is required in terms of paperwork. People have to be able to prove their identity. They have to be able to prove that they have loss of income directly as a result of COVID that impacted their ability to pay rent. and so all of those things have to be proven. The one thing you do not have to prove is whether you're documented or undocumented. Landlords are prevented by law from asking that question of tenants. Okay, any other questions? If there's a question regarding that, I can address it briefly, but
demanding question. Wasn't any Proud Boys in guard yesterday? And he was across the street from where all the activities are taking place. So what's your understanding of what happened? What's the procedure going on?
So I was made aware of this yesterday late afternoon. I was made aware of some social media posts, both photographs as well as video, that depicted a Fresno police officer who was posing as or being represented as being affiliated with an organization, and it could have been Proud Boys. Those are the things that are being looked at by our internal affairs unit. I can tell you that I spoke with Chief Balderrama yesterday afternoon after learning of this. He had initiated an internal affairs investigation immediately. He had also made sure that the officer who was identified was placed on administrative leave with pay pending the outcome of this investigation. Our independent police auditor will be monitoring this investigation as we go forward. And at the conclusion of the investigation, we'll also have an opportunity to review the internal investigation report. As I said in my release yesterday, we take matters such as this very, very seriously. I can tell you that as the mayor of this city, we will not tolerate any city employee that belongs to or affiliates with, associates with an organization that promotes supremacy, promotes criminal activity, or promotes racism. That will not be tolerated in the city of Fresno. Having said that, what we have at this point in time are social media photographs on social media as well as video, and we do not know the level of involvement at this point. And that's the purpose of the investigation, which will be done very thoroughly and very quickly. I can tell you that the photographs and the video that I saw is in fact a Fresno police officer. Is based on a number of factors in terms of being able to identify who this officer was, but there were a number of factors that allowed the city or at least the police department to identify that was a Fresno police officer.
The video is no longer publicly available. Video used from any law during that time. Did the city or the police department capture that video before?
I'm not going to or can't talk about the evidence in this case, since it is under internal investigation and a personnel matter. But I can tell you that the internal affairs investigators will look at every piece of evidence that is possible, and then at the appropriate time interview witnesses, as well as interviewing the officer who was portrayed in that video, as well as the photos, to determine what his involvement was. Okay, all right, thank you.